They don't care. They don't care. This is YongYea, by the way. But they don't care.
Update on the Mario Kart situation. In my last video, I talked about a patch that Nintendo released that, based on their notes, seemingly undid something that a lot of Mario Kart players really didn't like, specifically concerning Mario Kart World. So the distinction between 3-lap courses and intermission courses, or the highway courses, that's where the sort of the forefront of the controversy lies, where in online multiplayer, when you finish a 3-lap course, you are taken to this menu where you can vote for what the next track will be, and more often than not, it'll take you to essentially an intermission or highway track that is far less desired than the 3-lap courses, because the intermission tracks are just deemed to be inferior in their design, requiring less skill, less strategy. They're just more boring. There's just a level of gameplay that isn't quite as refined as the 3-lap courses, and so Nintendo forcing players to engage with the
And if everyone remembers, they're the ones that did this, because at first they didn't like that everyone was just doing random so they could get more 3-round courses. They're like, no, we made these straightway courses without testing them with audiences and stuff. We want you to play them. You play them now.
Intermission courses is just something that people didn't like, and so they discovered that the random button, essentially, if that's what's voted for most, and if that's what's picked, it'll essentially guarantee a 3-lap course. But then Nintendo, being Nintendo and wanting to control the way you play, decided to update that feature out of the game in this patch 1.1.2, where they adjusted courses selected in random when selecting next course in a wireless versus race, so that it doesn't guarantee a 3-lap course, so that more often than not, it will take you to an intermission or a highway track, because Nintendo wants players to play a mix of both. But players are straight up telling Nintendo, we don't like that, we don't like the intermission courses, and we'd like to have at least the option to forego those courses. Nintendo said, nah, bro, we decide what's best for you. We decide what's best.
Because it can't be that the customers are... It can't be that we've changed. No, it's the customers who are wrong.
Best for the game, and in the stubborn way that Nintendo can often be.
What are they, asking what an intermission course is? Basically, it's a straight, just one-way course. You don't do laps on this course, you go straight to your next destination, basically. The problem a lot of people had with it is it wasn't a fun meta for those courses. Like, you couldn't have fun on those courses because someone would stay just behind the last person. Like, they'd be in last, but they'd be just behind everyone else. And they would just make sure they got a blue shell and something else like lightning, and then they'd win. They'd wait until about halfway, I think it is, or like near the end. They'd zap you and blue shell you, and they'd win because they that's all they would have to do. So being in last was the suggestion. Oh yeah, and also they were punishing you for buying the Switch too.
But then they came out with this patch recently on July 29th, 2025, version 1.2.0, that seemingly addressed this, that seemingly indicated that they heard and listened to the backlash and the feedback and made some adjustments, because the backlash for this was pretty severe. I mean, from, you know, forums and so.
Basically, the game was dying. It basically is still dying.
Media to major Nintendo.
I know, right? I want to play that one so bad. Like, games I want to play is so bad right now. Peak. But everyone's so busy and they don't want to play. Repo, because I am still addicted to that game. I really want to play Wukong and Expedition 36. So that's why we're trying to finish all these games. And I really want to play, like, Monster Train 2, don't have it yet. I'm waiting until next paycheck. If I'm able to, after paying for all my art, I'm gonna get that game. But yeah, it's crazy.
Nintendo and Mario Kart content creators universally.
Well, the thing is, Stealth, everyone was having fun on the 3-round courses. Like, for the most part, it was kind of even, and like, the meta was get in front and just be good at playing the game. But in the 1-round courses, the meta was literally be last and just hog the best items.
This was an abhorred update. And so right here we have a bullet point that reads, increase the frequency of lap type courses appearing in the selection when choosing the next course in versus race and wireless races.
And see, this is what I've always hated about these type of updates, patch notes. These aren't patch notes. These are we changed something notes. Patch notes would suggest I know what the patch is doing. And this, I don't know how much you increase that. And since I know Nintendo, I immediately assume as soon as I see this is, oh, they probably upped it by like 0.001% or something.
A lot of folks on social media were happy about seeing that bullet point, and news outlets came out and talked about how Nintendo seems to have undone at least aspects of that change that people really didn't like. But what I said in my last video discussing this was,
the only games worth playing are on PC, all others are for the plebs who know no better.
All right, you guys talk to Alan in the comments. I'm not there. Don't look at me.
time will tell whether the update pushes that
Nah, they're right. Screw you.
enough, whether it reverses the abhorred change enough that players are actually going to be happy with the situation, or if the change is too minimal, where even if some kind of adjustment was made, it's not enough to ultimately fix
That's exactly what they did.
the issue of not giving players the choices that they want to make as far as what tracks they want to play online is concerned. And now we know that based on the experiences that Mario Kart World players have been having, Nintendo ultimately changed absolutely nothing. Hell, I mean, it's as good as lying, essentially, what Nintendo did.
Exactly what they did. It's literally, basically, like, if you use a liar's terminology, like, what a liar would say, basically, they soft lied or white lied. They lied just by not telling you 100% of the information. They gave you 50% of the information. And 50% of the information, they're telling the truth. But with 100% information, it's like, oh, this is quite literally basically a lie. Because an increase suggests, like, substantially, like 10% or something. Like a decent chance now or something. Like the way you're suggesting it. The way they know people are going to take it. Like, you know that by not telling them how much, they're thinking it's a good amount. If you know that, then you are lying. When in actuality, you increase it so little that it has no change whatsoever. And what's hilarious is people will almost immediately notice this and stop playing again.
Given how few differences there are. And among the biggest proponents of this situation is Shortcat, who is a Mario Kart dedicated YouTuber who came out with this video titled Thanks Nintendo. I highly recommend you give it a watch. It gives you a rundown of all of the patch updates and additions, and some of the additions are neat, others are really minor, and then there are some
that literally either are lies or they break something that was good how it was.
Still baffling lack of quality of life.
Isn't that hilarious that they broke some more stuff?
Life updates to the game. But generally, among the focuses of this video is testing that Shortcat did, going online and doing a bunch of races.
Basically, this is how you would be able to tell how much they increased it. Play 100 games of random. And look, like, if you played more than 100 games of the last time, you'd know, like, about percentage it was. It's probably, like, 1% or something. If you play it this time and you get less than 3, or, like, less than 4, let's say, or less than 5, let's say, there is no increase. Or the increase is so minimal that it doesn't matter. That it might as well not be an increase.
To see if there is indeed a higher frequency of the 3-lap.
Yeah, saying you increase would suggest that there's a higher frequency now. This is a lie by omission. You said increase, you didn't say how much. The increase is so minimal that it doesn't do anything, that's not an increase.
Courses and tracks that people prefer. But what he discovered was that not only is that issue not fixed, it doesn't seem like much has changed at all. Like, he doesn't feel like any sort of shift has happened in the probability of 3-lap courses appearing more often. And while on the back end of the game, Nintendo could argue that they did make some adjustments, so, you know...
Like, you could argue that, sure. But if the end result is basically the same as before, then no.
Could have technically increased the frequency of lap-type courses appearing in the selection when choosing the next course in versus race and wireless races. While that technically can be true, we don't know exactly by how much.
That's not even $1. That only shows up in like $1,000. And in which case it'd be like a penny. That's not a pay raise. That's a pay adjustment.
Much. And one of the things that Shortcat highlighted is that Nintendo has a tendency to make their patch notes incredibly vague.
No, if the change is below a certain amount of like percentage wise, it's called an adjustment. You can't call it a raise, because a raise like is like visible like pretty early on in like calculations.
They don't give you exact percentages and numerical values so you can really test the waters and really determine exactly what changes happened. They put out these vague statements like just increase the frequency, but that could mean anything. Increase the frequency by 0.01% and increase the frequency by 100% still fall under the category of this bullet point because of the lack of...
Here's the thing, if the frequency before was like 2% and they increased it by 0.0001%, that's an adjustment. That's not an increase. Stop being disingenuous. Call it what it is. It's a percentage adjustment. If the end result isn't noticeable, you can't call it an increase. You can't like reliably call it an increase.
Specificity, so they can get away with putting out bullet points like these that ultimately may be inconsequential.
Which this isn't new for Nintendo. I think they did this. They do this a lot on Fire Emblem Heroes.
Technically may be true, but in the effects that players feel may...
The massive long-term, Alan. If it's not immediately noticeable, that's not a pay raise. That's a pay adjustment. If the result is not noticeable from the previous result, like the result isn't like the change isn't noticeable in the next result after the first, like the one before, you can't call it a raise because it's not like I can't go like look at it and go immediately, oh, that's how much you raised it. If I can't say the number, it's an adjustment. If I can't say, oh, that looks like a 1% raise, you didn't even raise it.
Not make any difference and still get away.
If like way down the line I see 1 extra cent and you're like, there it is, I'll be like, I'll look at you, I'll be like, you expect me to call this a raise?
With essentially what is a lie that involves technical truths that ultimately isn't reflected enough in the end result to justify this bullet point. And that is just incredibly egregious to be able to put out a statement like this.
Yeah, it's egregious. It's a not hyperbolic. What's the word? You're overblowing and you're like misrepresenting the word raise.
And Nintendo knew exactly what they were doing with this bullet point. They put out this bullet point because they knew that
they lied by omission.
Backlash was intense, and they knew that people would look at this and run away with it. And on social media, we did see a lot of people just looking at this bullet point and immediately celebrating, which is why I said in my last video, time will tell whether the increase of frequency for lap-type courses will be enough that this can be an issue we can bury in the ground, we can move on from, or whether it's something that will come up again. Lo and behold, not only did it come up again because the increase of frequency for lap-type courses wasn't enough, there's such little difference in the end result that this bullet point might as well be a lie. And I've seen companies pull stuff like this before. So for example, when loot boxes was a major topic of controversy years back, it still continues to be, but back when companies were getting overzealous with their implementation of loot boxes, they would put patch notes like, we increase the chances of certain items appearing.
That's why there's a law where they have to show you the percentages. And that's why MapleStory got in trouble when it was still being, like, they were still, like, trying to incentivize cube buying and stuff, and how they made it where there wasn't even a number for the best rolls because they weren't possible. But they said they were possible because they put them there. It's called a lie by omission. Yeah, there's a chance. There's an increase. Increase to nothing is still nothing, but we said it's an increase. We increased it. Totally did.
In the loot boxes, but not detail exact percentages. So again, regardless of whether it's a 0.01% increase or a 100% increase, you know, it's technically true, but they can get away with essentially an update that ultimately makes no difference while pretending like they made some kind of change. They can pull what is essentially a marketing stunt more than anything that actually helps the customers and players get the experience that they want. And that's what Nintendo did here. And I don't know what they were thinking with this, because sure, temporarily they might have gotten, you know, that positive reception of people going, oh my God, finally Nintendo actually listened, and they quote unquote saved Mario Kart, is what some of the narrative out there was, by implementing this update. But the thing is that ultimately, if the results don't reflect that kind of cheer for an update that is ultimately false, when you look at the grand,
it's gonna come back to bite them, because it's gonna be twice as bad. Like, the reaction will be twice as bad because they'll know you lied, or they know you misrepresented what you did.
scheme of things, that'll be short-lived, and the backlash will only multiply. People will feel duped by a bullet point like this, and the backlash will just be that much worse than it initially was. So Nintendo putting this band-aid on this gaping wound and promising to the patient.
It's not even really putting a band-aid. What they did was they put a staple in it. At first it stops it, but now you've created more holes.
That this band-aid is the solution to cure this gaping wound.
And I don't mean like an actual like medical staple. I mean like they put a regular staple over like to put the two halves together, the gaping wound together. For like maybe a few seconds, that wound will be closed. Then it'll get worse.
To cure the infection surrounding it, it is certainly a choice that will ultimately come back to bite them in the ass, which it is already. I mean, Shortcat released this video just a couple hours ago, and
it's already got more views than this. Like, that's bad. If the previous day's video is already beat out by a video that's literally saying that you lied, that means a lot of people are finding out real quick that you were a liar.
You can see that it's getting quite a bit of viewership, and no doubt this is just the beginning of this backlash.
Let me look and see. I'll look at it after.
I think Nintendo has shot itself in the foot. I think the dip in the user score will only get worse as people leave negative feedback for a game that, for them, it feels like it's been ruined by the lack of choice for players to be able to, in-game, be able to choose to only play 3-lap courses. You know, for a lot of people, like the fact that they are railroaded into those intermission tracks, those highway tracks, it ruins the experience because they're just bored by those. They're just not engaging enough for them. So,
yeah, that is the other thing a lot of people complain about, is it's so boring because it's one way. There's like, I think like 2 or 3 shortcuts on the way, but there's like one way.
Nintendo, instead of choosing to fix the highway tracks or fix the problem of players not having choice, and instead putting out this bullet point that ultimately means absolutely nothing, that
if the change wasn't noticeable without you putting that bullet point there, like if it wasn't necessary to put it there, then yes, you lied.
is as good as a lie. A bullet point that gives people hope. before crushing them when
It's called it's basically telling people what they want to hear without giving it to them. It's like, that'd be like telling someone, hey, your father's alive, when they're actually dying. Why would you give someone hope just to crush it? Like they're on death's door after you just told them, oh, they're alive.
they actually test out the feature and realize that nothing has changed and that Nintendo hyped them up for nothing temporarily.
To give you an idea, Stealth, it's already affecting the line. I'll show y'all where Nintendo's stock has crashed. Like, it's already crashing. I think it's dropped like 10 or 12% over all the like suits and stuff that are hitting them.
Tricking people into believing that a solution has been implemented, that feedback has been listened to, will only make Nintendo's reputation tank that much further. And the fact that I'm hearing that this is actually a common thing for Nintendo's patches, like I don't cover Nintendo games as frequently, so hearing that this is a common
I'm so jealous of the Cloud Bike
trend for Nintendo to put out patch
and the Millennia statue
notes that are vague enough to be able to get, you know, positive feedback, but then like the end result potentially not actually make enough of a difference for that bullet point to be justified, that is incredibly egregious. I'll be curious to see how much more the backlash worsens and whether Nintendo will just ultimately choose to remain stubborn. Thing is, I said in my last video that, you know, every once in a while Nintendo chooses to forego their stubbornness and they choose to listen. It seemed as though that was not the case at all. They are remaining stubborn, only this time they are handling all of that and manipulating the narrative through deceptions in their patch notes, through obfuscations that really are shady when you think about what they're doing here. Or at the very least, that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on the current state of Mario Kart world, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on YongYea.
YongYea.
I'll see you guys next time.
YongYea. All right, let's see here.
Next time on Bookable Reacts Z. 3-hour-long feature grimdark Warhammer 40,000 animation film.
Yeah, see? It's already lost another 2%. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, it went from 24 and it's going really, it's predicted to go down to like 11. Let's see. I like how on that. Yeah, it started to go down again. Like it was going up. And now look, that's a massive drop. It went up a little bit more, but it's going down again. That's not good. They're massively down over the entire area. Oh, that's something else. But yeah, they're massively down. Like, this is when they started. This year. Yeah, they're still above, but that's like multiple within like days of each other lowers. People just start. They start showing like what they care about with their wallet. Vote with your wallet. Here we go. Penguin.
Start believing in ghost stories. You're in one. We're in one. Like,
I love that he brought that. Valley.
Together, not just like specifically you. You yourself haven't been isolated in quarantine and being haunted. All of us in this together are being haunted by the ghost of censorship. But it's not a ghost, it's tangible, it's real, and it's happening all over the place right now. We're getting hit from all angles here like it's the Kama Sutra. It is a full-blown red alert, nipple-squeezing, ass-greasing censorship showdown, and it is flooding
Wow, Valley, but also, god damn it, Penguin! Oh, I love this man.
every possible aspect of the online space right now. The one I want to follow up on today is one that I talked about a bit ago, with Collective Shout successfully using payment processors to bully Steam into removing hundreds of games that they deemed too disgusting to exist. They were really niche gooner games that were very low-hanging fruit and easy target, and then immediately piggybacking off that successful campaign used the same tactic to strong-arm itch.io into removing their content as well, except that extended to things well beyond just those really specific rape incest games that they targeted for Steam. It then extended to every adult game on the platform, and it is showing no signs of slowing down here, as payment processors are now cosplaying as the moral arbiters that
They have the audacity to lie about it.
Dictate what
That's
you
what
can
I'm
and
saying.
cannot use your money on. It's a really bleak future. It is a terrible thing. And MasterCard is aware that it's a bad look for them, as they've been inundated with tons of very rightfully angry and concerned customers and clients that are reaching out about how unacceptable it is that MasterCard would tell them what they are allowed and are not allowed to spend their money on. They should have no say in that matter at all.
Zero say. I would say this long before they started doing this. When they started pressuring Japan, I was like, there ain't no way in hell they have the right to do any of this. You are a processor. You have no right. Like, you have zero right to decide what we can and can't purchase. You are a facilitator. You are not the arbiter.
As long as they're not buying like actually illegal shit, which they were not, then there should be no issue here whatsoever. So MasterCard has come out with a statement where they're trying so hard to like downplay it and look.
They deny that they pressured Steam. Yet Steam was like, well, the reason we changed this is because of them. Oh, so that's why you're having problems in your government right now.
Like their hands are clean in this, but it's just a blatant lie that Valve has already called them out on. So let's go ahead and look at the MasterCard statement, but I also want to make a mention. itch.io is actually relisting some of the free, not suitable for work content that was de-indexed as a result of this unholy alliance between Collective Shout and the payment processors, where they did the fucking Dragon Ball Fusion dance and became every villain is Lemon's fucking evil. And once all
Every villain is lit.
all of that content was removed, itch.io has now been trying to re-index the ones that are free, so that way it doesn't even go through the payment processor. So as long as the adult content is no payment, it can.
They're already looking for other payment processors.
Poca the Boca. Hi smile.
Hi, Hectic. The reason why they're so powerful, Belly, is because they are one of the two most used. Haven't you noticed that a lot of the places will say Visa or MasterCard? Because sometimes, like, their system requires them to say which one. They don't ask you any of the other ones. They say Visa or MasterCard. Well, it kind of evolved to a point where they literally could strong-arm people. They are a duopoly. Together, they make a monopoly. Basically. Because they have no real competition in that force, and they both do the exact same thing. They're both on the talking to each other, basically. If one does it, the other will do it. Basically, to strong arm things. And that in itself is a monopoly. Hopefully the law passes that causes them to not be allowed to do this. But what would be better is they just stop doing this. Yep, see? Yep, you're right, Melly.
Be listed again on itch.io here, and they're trying to find other processors to avoid putting the
Stripe. I knew Stripe might do this. Stripe's like a little tiny bother. But they're probably going to try to get it to where they can. Because if they can, it instantly makes them bigger than MasterCard, and because you gotta remember the saying, sex sells. There's a reason why I'm calling MasterCard and Visa hypocrites. Yeah, but
platform at risk. Stripe, however, has issued a statement to them saying Stripe is currently unable to support sexually explicit content due to restrictions placed on them by their banking partners. Despite card networks generally supporting adult content with the appropriate registrations, Stripe has indicated that they hope to be able to continue adult content in the future. So Stripe is putting the kibosh on it, but leaving the door open, like maybe down the line, when Collective Shout and others stop fucking, you know, getting them on the horn, yelling and squealing about whatever they want to make a hoopla on, then maybe they'll start supporting it again. But as of right now, it's not like it's improved in that area. Anyway, let's take a peek at what MasterCard had to say. Clarifying recent headlines on gaming content. MasterCard has not evaluated any game or
everything after not is fake.
Required
in my
restrictions
opinion.
of any activity on game creator sites and platforms contrary to
Remove the word not, and it's all true.
media reports and allegations. Our payment network follows standards based on the rule of law. Put simply, we allow all lawful purchases on our network. At the same time, we require merchants to have appropriate controls to ensure MasterCard cards cannot be used for unlawful purchases, including illegal adult content. That is what we call a big load of barnacles. Valve already gave a statement to Kotaku, well, a spokesperson for Valve did, which is probably the fastest I've ever seen Valve give a statement, to be honest. They immediately came out and said, wait a minute, nope, flag on the play, we're gonna have to challenge this one here, this is ridiculous, because it was MasterCard, like, it was these payment processors, like, it did come from them. That was reported by Steam and itch.io. It like, is an irrefutable fact. So anyway, Valve came out to once again say that that's exactly what happened. They said payment processors rejected Valve's current guidelines for moderating illegal content on Steam, citing MasterCard's Rule 5.12.7. MasterCard did not communicate with Valve directly despite our request to do so. MasterCard communicated with payment processors and their acquiring banks. Payment processors communicated this with Valve, and we replied by outlining Steam's policy since 2018 of attempting to distribute games that are legal for distribution. Payment processors rejected this and specifically cited MasterCard's Rule 5.12.7 and risk to the MasterCard brand. So that rule that they keep referencing states a merchant must
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I remember that.
not submit to its acquirer, and a customer must not submit to the interchange system any transaction that is illegal or in the sole discretion of the corporation, may damage the goodwill of the corporation or reflect negatively on the marks. The sale of a product or service, including an image which is patently offensive and lacks serious artistic value, such as by way of example and not limitation, images of non-consensual sexual behavior, sexual exploitation of a minor, non-consensual mutilation of a person or body part, and bestiality.
One of those is in... I'm kind of surprised that Fear and Hunger escaped this. I'm suing Boca? Good luck with that.
Or any other material that the corporation deems unacceptable to sell in connection with a mark. Violations of Rule 5.12.7 can result in fines, audits, or companies being dropped by the payment processors. To put that into human language, it's basically saying MasterCard reserves the right to terminate business with a company that is selling illegal products or services or selling things.
Fun fact, they're hypocrites. They allow other sites and stuff. For crying out loud, there's OnlyFans, which is nothing but adult content, basically. That's okay. But gosh damn the fakeness. That the fake adult stuff can't exist.
Things that MasterCard deems potentially damaging to their brand. Really though, the purpose of having this baked in is so that way even if a company isn't doing something illegal or selling something illegal, they can still have this rule here where if MasterCard just decides, we think that might be somewhat risky to our image. Thus, if it's not removed, we're leaving. They have that here. They have that.
Which is bombastically stupid. No one's, like, addressing you when they see an adult game. They don't even think of you. If it was actually a problem, Steam would have taken it down themselves. If it was actually a problem.
That ability to fall back on that. So in this case, Steam, they weren't doing anything illegal, at least not from any of the available information out there, but since MasterCard was told that they need to take action by collective shout, they can then say, hey, if these aren't removed, we're leaving because this is damaging to our brand. We don't agree with this content. We will not support this.
Here's the thing. If they don't reverse the decision, I say we start making them attack all the adult things. Let's see how far they're willing to go.
Thus, they can threaten to pull out from Steam and itch.io. And it's in their rules that they can do that for anything that vaguely could be construed as, you know, damaging to their image. It doesn't have to be just illegal stuff. And MasterCard comes out and blatantly lies about it. Like, they tried so hard to
blatantly lies.
Like, placate. It's unreal.
Am I cute?
Like, they immediately got called out on this lie. They were talking about how they were going to clarify.
Clarify. What do you mean clarify? Clarify just means, like, let know of something. It does not mean take action or do something.
Misinformation around their involvement in this censoring and removal of these games. And, like, trying to make it seem like they're blameless in this. But
you're 100% to blame. And you will suffer the call avalanche that you're getting.
They are literally to blame. Them and Collective Shout working together. This tag team. It is blatantly misleading information MasterCard just puts out there. And
I hear you, Nana. And you're right, Self. You're right. They'll never actually go to a...
I bet there are no repercussions for them as a company for it, even though it is just literally not true about, like, how they weren't really involved in these games removals. Yes, they were. Valve also confirms that. Valve tried to argue saying, like, hey, this is all part of our moderating, you know, policy that we've had since 2018, replying with that information, only to get met with a fucking wall where they said, nope, here's our rule, and we're gonna terminate our agreement with you if it's not removed. It's just, it's silliness to then come out from them and try and pretend like they didn't do anything. Like, everyone's...
Like, lying doesn't help you, buddy.
Just got the story all fucked up. I wonder if they're going to try and issue another statement. My gut tells me they won't. They're just going to let that simmer and sit and hope people forget about it. But hopefully that doesn't happen. I hope people continue to call these payment processors, voicing their concern and outrage over this. It's clearly working. The fact MasterCard made a statement at all shows that it is actually doing something. It is actually getting to them. Thus, it's effective. So, that pressure should be kept up, for sure. Because we do not want to encourage this kind of behavior where payment processors have this kind of power
you talk about their name.
to just censor shit. They should have no say in the transactions you are making and what you are allowed to spend your own money on. It's just absurdity that it's getting to this level. So anyway, I just wanted to give you a follow-up on this. That's about it. So yeah.
Yep. And then we'll look at this.
If you're a Nintendo fan in particular, it's about to get
worse,
more
guys.
expensive. Nintendo recently posted the following news update on August 1st, 2025, indicating that price increases are coming across the entire Switch family of consoles. So right here we have the statement that reads as follows. Pricing for the original Nintendo Switch family of systems and products.
Which, like, realize that they're upping the price of the original because they're losing money. Like, that's the only explanation. You're supposed to reduce the prices of your older stuff to try to get people into it, but they're increasing the prices because they saw people rather buy the old one than buy the new one.
Will change in the United States based on market conditions effective August 3rd, 2025. That is tomorrow as of the recording of this video, and 2 days later from the release of this post. These include Nintendo Switch OLED model, Nintendo Switch Lite, and select Nintendo Switch accessories. And then beyond that, Nintendo Switch 2 elements will get more expensive. Other Nintendo products, including certain Nintendo Switch 2 accessories, select Amiibo, and the Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo will also see adjustments. Now, the one area where Nintendo wants to maintain prices as they are is in the Nintendo Switch 2 system. As it reads right here, pricing for the Switch 2 system, physical and digital Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 games, as well as Nintendo Switch Online memberships, will remain unchanged at this time. At this time, meaning that this is not ironclad. In the future, that might change. In fact, Nintendo very bluntly says, however, please note that price adjustments may be necessary in the future. No.
And for those of you gonna try to blame the what do they call them again? My brain forgot the word. Give me a sec. I'm thinking of the word. I don't remember the word. But anyways, blame Nintendo. Nintendo don't care. Nintendo knows if they had a lower price, they would still make money. They're greedy.
Immediately, something that irks me about this post is the fact that they don't list out what the new prices will be. We're talking about 2 days between...
And they do that purposely because they know... Oh yeah, also the Switch 2 is barely even portable.
Between the announcement of these price adjustments and when these price adjustments will actually go live. And instead of disclosing that information...
What's hilarious is Target outs them, basically.
They're essentially having people find out on the day that they go live. So they're leaving customers 2 days in suspense. Now, it seems as though that information might have actually leaked on the internet. Keen-eyed Wario64 noticed that on Target, temporarily updated prices were listed.
Target outed you. They keep increasing the cost of the Joy-Con 2s. Because they're trying to get the people that still established with them to keep buying more of those, because they purposely made them where they break. They experience the drift. Yeah. And then OLED, which is like literally better than the Switch 2. They increased the most. They increased it by $50. The non-OLED, they increased by $40. And then, like, the kids Switch, they increased by 30.
It reads right here, Nintendo Switch consoles price increase already in effect at Target. The Switch OLED will go...
It won't be global stealth. Because they know they get away with it in America. They know they won't really get away with it in other countries.
From $350 to $400. That is insane. That's a $50 increase. That puts the Switch 2 at only $50 more expensive than the Switch OLED.
Top value.
There's no reason to get the Switch OLED at this point. Like, you'd just be much better off spending that extra $50 and getting the new console that also plays Switch 1 games and also can play all the upcoming new titles as well. Then you got the non-OLED Switch, the classic Switch, which went up by $40 from $300 to $340. And finally, the Switch Lite went from $200 to $230.
I love that game, though.
$30 price increase. The Alarmo clock from $100 to $110. The Joy-Con 2 controllers from $95 to $100. And what's insane about the Joy-Con 2 controllers getting a price increase is that this is the second time that the price for this accessory has been increased. Recall that amidst tariff announcements shortly after...
That's the word, tariffs. Don't blame the tariffs. Tariffs are actually really low for Japan.
After Nintendo announced initial MSRP...
They have almost no effect on the Switches.
For Switch 2 accessories, they increased all of those prices by a pretty significant margin, with a pair of Joy-Con 2 controllers going from $90 to $95, and now it's gone from $95 to $100. And the thing about the Joy-Con 2 controllers is that it's been confirmed that as far as the joystick components are concerned, it's basically the same as the Switch 1 Joy-Con controllers, which means that Joy-Con 2s are also prone to drift issues. I want to say that within a year or two, we're going to start to see mass reports of Joy-Con 2 stick drift. And when that happens, I mean, either you're forced to send those back and wait for Nintendo to repair them and then return them to you, or, you know, the solution that a lot of people might just go for because it's more convenient because they, you know, don't want to wait that long to get their Joy-Cons, is to shell out money for a second.
Which is what they plan on.
Second pair of Joy-Con 2 controllers, and now it'll be $100. Now, worth noting about these prices on Target is that they eventually got reverted back to original prices when Wario64 checked again. Reads right here, it looks like Target reverted the prices back to their original pricing. So either one, Target realized they adjusted prices too early and changed them back, or two, the price update was incorrect and could be different on August 3rd. I would bet that what happened was closer to number one, where Target was given the price point so they could update the website and the listings for all these products with the new prices on August 3rd, but the new prices went live on the wrong date. They went live a little earlier, so it was unintentional, but thank you, Target, for giving us some idea as to what the new prices will be, whereas Nintendo has chosen to not disclose that information and have people wait until August 3rd. The lack of immediate information disclosure when it comes to new pricing that will no doubt be price increase, is pretty egregious. Nintendo's always done this where they keep information vague, like prior to the Nintendo Switch 2 launch when they did that Nintendo Direct revealing all of the Nintendo Switch 2 features and games, that big Switch 2 Direct. They didn't disclose that, for example, Mario Kart World would be $80 instead of the expected $70 because they knew that there'd be backlash. They had people dig for a lot of the information that would have been very relevant to disclose during that Nintendo Direct when all eyes were on them, and so that generated a lot of
What they're doing is they're making it sure that the vast majority of people don't know about the price increases, so that when they get there, they're like, well, I was gonna buy it anyways. They're playing on your, like, sunk cost fallacy, where, like, you've already driven all the way here to get one. What's this little bit extra more?
Backlash, and it feels like Nintendo's pulling something similar here, where they're holding off on being as transparent as they can be.
You're not allowed to fix the Switch 2. You open it up, that's illegal. You go to jail.
As for why these price increases are happening, well, it's likely to do with the current economic conditions, especially where tariffs are concerned. As things stand currently, as disclosed
That's
here by
how it works!
Daniel Ahmad, who is a video games industry analyst, he notes here how
Boo,
currently
censorship,
tariffs look as
boo.
follows: 20% tariff on Vietnam, 30% tariff on China, and 15% tariff
See?
on Japan.
15%.
Vietnam is where
Valley!
Nintendo manufactures the Switch systems themselves.
Thank
and
you,
as far
Valley!
as accessories go, some of that stuff is made in China. And then Nintendo being based in Japan, of course, the tariff on Japan is going to impact them
Can
as
you
well.
fix
So it's just
me?
been tariffs across all of the countries
Maybe.
and regions that are pivotal to the manufacturing of Nintendo Switch systems and all their accessories. Which is why Nintendo added the additional disclosure of, while currently Nintendo Switch 2 systems will remain the same price, that may change at a later time. And that probably will be in the near future if tariffs remain. Nintendo is a company that just...
They don't care about the tariffs. Here's the thing people don't realize. They're already making money on the Switch, too. It was priced to make money. It is the first console ever to not be a loss leader. It is double the price. They're making a good 100% profit. The tariffs are maybe eating 10% of that.
refuses to sell their consoles at a loss. They want to make even a little profit with every console
I was
sold.
here the whole time.
And so no doubt Switch 2 systems will go up in price. So if you've been interested in a Switch
Your mom asked about me? Oh no.
2 and would like to buy them at the original MSRP, I'd say now is a good time to do that. Now, some of you might say, well, the Nintendo Switch 1 systems are being phased out now that the Nintendo Switch 2 has released. But keep in mind that Nintendo Switch 1 is still a really popular console. Like, it's still selling fairly well. It's still in high demand enough that these price increases will have a significant impact. It's just going to make owning a Nintendo console just that much less accessible, especially in the current economy where wages have not increased, especially in the US, and where just the economic turmoil is, pretty pretty significant. Now, I'm not surprised that for now Nintendo does want to maintain Switch 2 prices because they've been selling so well and they don't want to mar that momentum. So as of August 1st, 2025, Nintendo's announced that they've sold over 6 million units in just 7 weeks. Nothing touches the rate at which Nintendo Switch 2 has been selling. This is completely record-shattering. This is...
I highly doubt it sold that much. I have a feeling that they've just faked it. Also, you could realize that that amount being sold could probably mean that there's, like, people that are buying it just to, like, help hack it.
By far the biggest launch that any video game system has ever had, period. And so it makes sense that Nintendo wants to keep riding that wave for a while longer, but, you know, it's almost guaranteed that they will increase those prices at a near future date. The only company among the big three who have been holding out is Sony and PlayStation, who've yet to increase the prices on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro or PlayStation 5 Slim.
They won't, because they know they and Xbox are the hated party right now. It should be Nintendo as well. I'm pretty sure it is.
Systems. Xbox caved earlier this year with them announcing that as of May 1st, 2025, Xbox consoles and controllers and accessories would see a price increase. And this is also when they announced that certain first-party games will launch at $80 beginning this holiday season, following the model that Nintendo set the ground for when they announced that Mario Kart World would be $80.
Funny thing is, Xbox already walked back their price increase because they realized it ain't freaking possible, buddy.
Instead of the expected $70. Now that one company does it, every other company feels like they have permission to do this, to price games at $80. But yeah, Xbox's price increase has been even more significant than what Nintendo has been doing. The margin between the old price versus the new price, as you can see right here, are significantly greater, with certain consoles like the Xbox Series X 2TB Galaxy Black going from $600 to $730. Whereas if you go to PlayStation's website right now, you'll find that all of the prices for all the respective PlayStation 5 consoles,
because those were already egregiously priced,
are exactly the
they
same
know they
as
can't
were
increase
with
them.
the original MSRP.
Happy birthday,
Though
Bokathedragon.
I'm curious as to
It's not my
whether
birthday.
Sony and PlayStation will be able to hold out much longer. We have seen price increases for these consoles across other regions, and so
I think Sony's probably the only one that realizes that no one's buying new consoles, actually.
I would honestly not be
So I want to see what.
surprised if eventually they would cave to the...
But yeah, like YongYea's saying, Sony might increase prices, but I kind of doubt it. I kind of doubt it because I'm pretty sure Sony is one of the few places that probably knows that people are getting really fed up with all these price increases.
Tariffs and the fact that essentially components, manufacturing costs, shipping, all these things, because of the price increase in those sectors as a result of the tariffs, they're forced to ultimately price these consoles
It ain't because of the tariffs. I promise you.
higher. But so far, they're holding out, and hopefully it remains this way for a good amount of time.
Yeah,
You
Sony was also losing a lot of money, so
just never know in the current economic landscape. The bottom line is that gaming as a whole is about to get significantly more expensive over the coming months and years, as long as these tariffs continue to be in place. And the same goes for other industries and sectors and types of products. We're not just talking about luxuries that are going to see price increases, but necessities we have seen across the board see price increases as well, since a lot of necessities are, imported from other regions around the world. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the games industry is ultimately impacted by all of this in the coming few years as this hobby becomes less and less financially accessible.
I doubt
I'll be
it.
keeping you updated on all new significant developments on that front. In the meantime, though, let me know in the
notice that Sony hasn't touched the prices of their new games.
comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Nintendo's recent price increases for Switch consoles, and where you think the games industry is headed as far as pricing is concerned with the current economic landscape. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, Stay tuned right here on YongYea.
YongYea.
I'll see you guys next time. YongYea.
YongYea. But yes, like I said, it's definitely that. It's definitely they're just being very greedy. What is this? Interesting.